My name is Wale Olaitan. We're here today for a community discussion. The program is put together by Coalition for Good Governance in Africa. Essentially, the program is to discuss political events in Nigeria, and now we can actively get Nigerians in diaspora to be actively involved about political issues, and most importantly around the issue of good governance. It is not uncommon when you have gatherings of Nigeria, be it a wedding, birthday parties, whatever the event is. It's not uncommon to see Nigerians discussing politics, all the political issues, issues on how we can actually make Nigeria a better place. But in most cases, we go there, we talk about it, and then we all disperse and nothing happens. So the purpose of today's event is to really provide us that opportunity to discuss extensively about how can we as Nigerians in diaspora, we know what the problems are, we all know that, and we are all professors of politics, and we can analyze and have a lot of opinions on how things should be done. But beyond that, the pontification and beyond all the complaints and criticism, we think that maybe we can do something better by actually coming together and talk about it, some of the issues, and try to profile some solutions. In a nutshell, that's why we are here. Just to brainstorm about some of the issues. We've got Nigerians from different walks of life that are here just to holistically look at some of the issues, and also to offer ideas on how we can do things better. That's why we are here. And thank you, Danny, for being here with us today. As a member of our community, you're doing a great job, in our social circles. And beyond the social circles, I follow you. I could see your own political activism as well behind the scenes, which is good to see with your shows of music and some of the things you do on social media as well. So yeah, we try our best to make Nigeria a better place, because at the end of the day, this is the only, outside Australia, for many of us, is our home. So thank you.
It's been a long time since we've been clamoring for a change in Nigeria, a change in government, and a change in people's lifestyle compared to the Western society. And it's about time we started making moves to effect that change. And that is why we are here, to effect that positive change in Nigeria.
So my name is Wale Olaitan. So my role today will be to anchor the panel discussion. We're going to have a panel discussion to analyze some of the political issues in Nigeria, and also hopefully we'll be able to profile realistic solutions to some of the identified issues. Okay, before I proceed, I would like to officially recognize the traditional owner of the land we are meeting today. And I pay my respects to their elders, past, and present. The big question, why are we here today? And I think many of us looking around in the room with the informational pamphlets everywhere, I think we can begin to have appreciation for why we are here today. But it is also very important to really remind ourselves, why are we here today? I intend to make this as interactive as possible. Because I just don't like hearing my own voice, I'm not happy just to move around the table. I don't like to put anyone on the spot, but why are we here? Based on the information we have, why are we here? And I would like people to, tell me why we are here. Just tell me if you're ready to say a few words. I will, come over. Why are we here today? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. My name is Abiola, and basically, I'll probably talk for myself. Why am I here today? Same time to witness a step in a change in Nigerian governance. So I think for me, they said a little step goes a long way, and that is why I'm here today, to see the beginning of that step of change.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Akinbiyi. Any other comments of why we are here? Absolutely, Mr. Abbas.
The anthem of Nigeria. To serve Nigeria, I struggle with the anthem. Just with my heart and everything, I still think about our country. And basically, I'm here, and I believe I ask myself this question every day. I left Nigeria more than 20 years ago, and the question keeps coming back. Mr. Toyin Abbas, what have you done for Nigeria? So I think that actually triggered me, and I'm here basically because I want to make. I'm not going to change something. That's what I just want to make a meaningful impact. So that is what brought me here.
Dr. Inwang. Okay.
Thank you very much. I think for me, I'm here today to obviously rub minds with people who can way forward. We've known the country has been adrift. I think increasingly we're becoming aware that it's now upon us to do something and to take that practical step. I think that's why I'm here. I think that's why most of us are here today, to try to take that initial step to make a change and to guide the country in the right direction.
Thanks, Dr. Inwang. Mr. Obadino.
Thank you, Dr. Obadino. We are here to discuss about coalition for good governance in Africa, and starting from Nigeria. When we were, reciting the national anthem, there's something there that strikes me. One nation bound in freedom, peace, and unity. And every day since independence, Yorubas are clamoring for a change, or they get out of that unity, Nigeria. The Igbos are clamoring for a change, or they get out of that unity, Nigeria. The Hausas are saying, if there is no change and we don't continue to rule this country, there is need for us to review the unity. For over 50 years, we are still united. So that means there is something great about that country we have not actually identified. So I think this discussion will probably open that, avenue for us to explore what is there in that country that is still keeping it together. How can we continue to keep it together, and how can we support those who are back home keeping it together up to date?
Thanks, Mr. Obadino. And also, as a way of recognition, we've got two representatives of the current Nigerian Society of Victoria, the transitional Mr. Badino is a member, and so we've got Mr. Abbas as also a member of that committee. Because of time, I will not be able to individually, recognize everyone present, but I sincerely thank you for coming and coming to be part of this important occasion. So, without much ado, I'll move on to the next item on the program. Time, as I said earlier, time is not really on our side. So with the panel members, they've been introduced. So I've got questions for the panel. We intend to make it as interactive as possible. And also, I encourage audience to take a few notes because there will be question and answer session, or preferably, if you don't have any question, maybe you just have comments. We intend to make this as interactive as possible. Okay, so I'll move to the questions, and I will start from Mrs. Akinbiyi. My first question is, politics is essentially to improve the quality of lives of these citizens. Why are we struggling to achieve this basic objective of governance in Nigeria and other parts of sub-Saharan Africa? So why are we as a people struggling to achieve that basic goal of improving the quality of life of our people in Nigeria or other parts of Africa?
Thank you. First of all, I would like to just define what politics is. It's like kind of discussion where people have to improve citizens' life. But over a period of years in Nigeria, the word politics has changed its narrative. It's becoming a word whereby people associate with liars, a word where people associate with people that are not straightforward, a word that people associate with things that are not certain. So we are actually, I think in Nigeria, one of a fundamental problem in Nigeria, with my own opinion and with few things I've read about Nigeria, is most of our leaders lack vision. And without vision, you can't get anywhere. Most of the time we get stuck in goals in Nigeria. And one of the things that we find it so difficult to achieve this is, if you don't have a vision, you won't have a mission. If you don't have mission and you're planning on goals, you can't achieve your goals. And without goals, you can't have the implementation of what you're doing, and you can't improve on anything. So when the foundation is wrong, everything is wrong. And I really go back to what you said earlier on when you were talking about a long time ago when we have £1 for maybe 36 kobo or stuff like that. That was when, after the independence, people has the country was good. Our leaders then, they have a mission. But after a period of years, we lose that vision. Why? Because we do not have enough, we don't have goals to achieve mission. Nigeria's narrative because of this. I don't want to blame those leaders because it depends on the situation themselves. When you make someone that is hungry your leader and you put them in a house that has lots of money, what do you think is going to be their first objectives? I think we're experiencing that because we lack leaders that has visions. We lack leaders that love their people. Just to summarize it all, I would like to go back to one of my best books that I ever read in my entire life. Was written by the Prince of Dubai, Mohammed bin Abdul. I think everybody should go and read that book. It's about thought, how to build a country. He said the first objective of any politician or any governance in a country is to make their people happy. If you're a leader and you're going into a position of power without having the objective of making your citizen happy, then you've lost it all. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Akinbiyi. Moving on, I've got a question for Mr. Abbas. So the way I've arranged this, we're going to be having, different questions on different areas of governance in Nigeria. The first question I have for Mr. Abbas has to do with the issues around the security arrangements, or as they call it this time around, security architecture. So there's a lot of big words being thrown around in Nigeria. We know those big words, but it's just allowed to really do the basics in terms of. So, Mr. Abbas, the first question I have for you is this. Nigeria is currently going through significant security challenges. In response, the Southwest states recently created Western Nigerian Security Network, aka Amotekun. Following extensive media debates, the northern states announced the creation of Northern Nigerian Security Initiative, aka, excuse my pronunciation, Shege Kafasa. It is expected the South East and South states will announce their initiative very soon. What are your thoughts in relation to security challenges in Nigeria? And the second part of the question, is national unity being sacrificed for populist politicking? It's a very heavily worded question. Do you want me to go through any of those one at a time? So the first one will be, what are your thoughts in relation to security challenges in Nigeria at the moment?
I think it's mandatory of me. I have to acknowledge the traditional owners of this land on which we sit today. Elders past and present. I think it's very, very important for me to do that. And that question is big. It's big in the sense that I ask myself, first of all, why do we need a state police? And that is what I do as a person. I always want to critique whatever comes to me. I think I've heard it many times from my people. I'm from the Southwest, and there is this general belief that it's required. So I need to look at the pros and cons. We have to look at the negatives and the positives. So if we do that, perhaps I will land safely, and perhaps the audience can make a decision from what I'm going to say. Look, recent waves actually clearly indicated that we've had crime waves all over Southwest, which is not hidden anymore. I lived in the northern part of Nigeria and for a while, and with my parents. But when I moved southwest, I think I saw a few things that were like there was no trust. So I'm establishing that the northern part of Nigeria and the southern part of Nigeria, I think the trust is not there. That's not. I'll come back to that. Then secondly, like I said, we cannot hide away from the fact that crime wave has actually increased. I'm articulating why I think there must be a state police. So number two, the underlying factor that what underpins the need for Amotekun or state policing would be, if I'm in charge of this place as the controller or whatever, and I don't have what it takes to actually take decisions here in terms of security issues, I think I've been undermined. So suffice to say, a governor of a state doesn't have a power over police in the state. I think it's unheard. I think I cannot comprehend that. So I think it's happening in Nigeria right away that if you're a governor of a state, a police officer can actually abrogate your power, in your capacity, in your executive power, executive roles. So it's sort of sickening to know this. Another thing I want to talk about is that when you have a place, when you have a community, and you're from that community, you have your allegiance to that community. If I'm from Adodo local government and I'm from that place and I happen to be a police officer, I think I would do a good job. With all due respect for people from other states that are, from as far as state quota, you will do a good job because people will be eager to give information, unlike I'll call it because of trust. So you'll be able to get information rather than I'll use the word an outsider. So that's another argument in favor of state police. And look at the states that are countries that are practicing this. It's very, very obvious. It's thriving there. They're getting results. A case in point, Victoria. I work directly with the Victorian Police, and the police officer that I work with, they know the nitty-gritty. You all know that I work with the City Council. Fitzroy, if there's anything, the first person they will go to, probably because I work with young people, if there's any youth that actually committed any crime, they come to me because I know a bit about that. I know a bit of Fitzroy. It's not that I live there, but I connect with that place. So it will work well if a resident is part of security, apparel of a state, because that person is embedded, it knows everything, so it becomes easier. Look, I can go on and on and on, and it's making a case, making a point to say there is a need for state police. On the other side, I want to look at it from this perspective. So, like I said, when I finish, everybody will just make his own judgment. But I'm quick to say that there is a need for it. On the other side, I have to flip it around and say, what about the state police starts to use it for selfish ends, political gains, to actually, it could be a catalyst for disaster. So, but one thing that stands out clearly, there is a need for state police in Nigeria because the advantages outweighs the negatives. So for me, I think very, very much I'll tilt to that angle and say there is a need for us to have state police. So because of time constraint, we cannot go on and, but it's very, very important that
the second part of your question, Mr. Abbas, yes. Is national unity being sacrificed for populist politicking? Because if you, going by the commentaries in the media around the state policing, and especially the Amotekun and all the issues around it, it's actually divided. You just need to go through, comments on social media, and you can see who is saying what. You can see where, in northern, for argument's sake, their level of arguments on the need for Amotekun and all that, and also you can, counteract that with the way a typical southerner or maybe a Yoruba person, the narrative. So, do you think that we're sacrificing the national unity that Awolowo, Southerner of Sokoto, at the sake of Africa, the national unity they fought, for?
I look at the way I'm going to sort that problem, and it comes from either here, which is the brain, and here. A case in point, I'm a Muslim, and there is a debate about religion. Tendencies are, I will tilt towards whatever comes from with my religion as a Muslim than a Christian. So mostly we tend to go for here in Nigeria than here. I don't actually I judge people to be wrong or right, but I personally I would want to say that it is very, very inherent that there is a need for this. Whoever is saying we should do away with state police, I mean there might be another agenda which is coming from here. I'm putting it in the simplest form. If we sit down together as a people, it's just common sense. I'm the dad in my house, and you're asking Mr. Jochumobi or Mr. Fukuman, it's going to be counterproductive. So it's not about people from the north wanting to have it. I've got Hausa blood in me, and I've been sincere here. I'm very, 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 very sincere. I think it has nothing to do that. It's just people that are camouflaging or under the guise of something. Yep. So something else is there. There are other things that are not seen with the naked eye. So that's my own, my own take. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Moving on, my next question goes to Mrs. Remi Yusuf. Nigeria currently has 42 serving government ministers across many ministries. Of the current number, only 7 women are serving ministers. I mean, only 7 women out of 42. How can Nigerians in diaspora contribute towards reducing the gender imbalance in political representation in Nigeria? Because obviously if you have 7 women out of 42 ministers, there's a lot of gender imbalance there. How can we, as a people that have experienced something like having a female prime minister, how can we really do something about it?
Thank you for that question. I'm going to approach it in 2 ways. First, I have to acknowledge the women that are present here this evening, because it's not a common thing for a woman to come out on to such a forum or on a day like this. And it saddens me that we women, we are the enemies of ourselves. We often don't participate in things that goes beyond the realms of domestic activities, which I find very, very appalling, honestly. For the women that are here today, for me to say that I really, really respect you, I know that there are some other domestic things that you will be, or you might be compelled to attend to, but you chose to be here. So congratulations. And for the young girls, I will speak to you later concerning this. Like I said in my profile, I studied feminism and power. So feminism is just understanding what power is. And it's usually based on power imbalance. There's a popular philosopher. His name is Michel Foucault. He says, and I'll quote, he says that there is only power because, he says, power does not belong to anyone. There is power, and I'll explain what that means. Power does not belong to anyone. There is only power because there is dispute. And there is relays, network, reciprocal support, differences of potential, and discrepancies, and on and on. It is in the system differences which have been analyzed that power can begin to. So when I say power doesn't belong to anyone, it doesn't belong to a woman, it doesn't belong to a man. It belongs to all. I have the power to restrict myself from eating this chin-chin, and I have the power to eat it. No one gave me that power. I gave it to myself. Why do I allow anyone to have power over me? That is what it means by power does not belong to anyone. It belongs to all. And women not participating in politics, they have disempowered themselves. I participated the previous local government election in my local government area. When I wanted to do that, when I joined the political party and I nominated to one of the councillors, my immediate family, my children said to me, "Mom, what are you doing? Do you think that people will vote for you, or you have nothing else to do with your time?" And I said, just leave that to me. All I want is just tell your friend, my mom is running, and this is what she's running on. Just forget about it. Okay. So the main reason why we only have 7 women in the Nigerian system is because the general belief is that women are weak, logical, they're emotional, and unable to hold public sphere. And I relate that back to my own family when I said I want to run for council. Even though they didn't articulate it like that in my head, that's how I understand it. Because if my husband had said, I want to run for council, I'm sure the children wouldn't say, "Oh, Dad, what are you doing?" Exactly. So, because the construction of women in the society is that they're weak. Men are strong. Women are emotional. Men are logical. They are rational. They're aggressive to pursue what they want to get. Forgetting that, I'll quote a Yoruba adage that says, "Omo to ba da ni ti iya e." So what that means is that a child that succeeds belongs to the mother. A failure of a child, a child that succeeds belongs to the father. a failure of a child belongs to the mother. So for a child to succeed, we men that are here, or you men that are here, you know fully well that the mother must have done a considerably good job for a child to succeed. But we turn it around. Instead of giving that credit to the woman, that you've done well for the child to succeed. But we for the child that has not succeeded. That's the way the society have perceived women. And they want women, when I say they, including myself, want women to remain in that box. Why do we have to be in a box? Why do we have to remain in that box? Why do we have to put ourselves in the box? That is the question. Then men especially, they use culture to suppress the women and say, oh, you can't do that. It's not our culture to do that. And religion, we say, oh, you are a Christian, why are you doing politics? Politics is against Christianity. Or you are a Muslim, you will be too powerful to obey your husband. The word obey, we misuse it, and we use that to suppress women and put them in that box that I just talked about. Okay? It is now left to the women to remove themselves from the construction that the society, both men and women, have put them in order to free themselves. I'll come back to that. I'll tackle the second part of the question. The second part of the question before I go back to how to release themselves. I've written here, sorry, you'll know that I'm used to doing this so that I don't go off the tangent when I'm teaching. When I was growing up, I went to an all-girls secondary school, British style. And we were told constantly that what a woman can do it better. With that mentality, I don't believe for any reason, for me, know that I don't for one time or any minute believe that anyone is better than me. And I'm not better than anybody. I'm in a league of my own, you're in a league of your own. If I see anything good in you and I like it, I approach you and I tell you and I copy from it. Because I believe that in my own self, whatever anyone else can do, I can do it better if I copy from that person. So for a woman to believe that, or for a woman to want to go into politics, you have to believe that. Women, I often say this to the women that I deal with in my practice, that we are the enemies of ourselves. If I say that I want to run for governor of Ondo State, the closest person to me, a woman, let's say all the men here, they are cheering me on and say, oh, go Remi and stuff, or Toyin or whatever they call me. Some women that are close to me will turn around and say to me, oh, you better don't go through the trouble. Why do you want to do that anyway? Even your immediate family will discourage you and say, why do you want to do it? Women need to start supporting each other. If Mrs. Akinbiyi says she wants to be the president of us or the prime minister of Australia, let's say, you go girl, go for it. That is the way forward. Then more women need to put their hands up. Stop looking at whether I'm going to fail or not. Yoruba adage says, "Aiba won si nibe ni aiba won dasi." If you are not there, no one will come and fish you up from your bedroom and say you have to come and run for Senate. You are old enough to put your hand to say, "I want to do this." before people can support you. And more importantly, men have to continue to show respect to women. It is not, women are not only objects. They are not objects of your homemaking. I often say to my husband, because he's very quiet, he doesn't go out. Most people don't know my husband. I often say to him when he says, oh, you know that I don't go out. I said, but when I go out there, they don't call me Toyin Falusi. They call me Toyin Yusuf. That means I'm representing you. For a woman to want to do that, they need the support of the men. It's not about discouraging or pushing or whatever. It's about encouraging. You need to encourage the women. You can do it. Try it. You failed once. I said to one person once, Abraham Lincoln, which we talk about most of the time, all the time, he ran 42 times and failed before he finally won. He started from somewhere. Let's start from somewhere. That's how we can get there. Difference between men and women is only physical. It's not it's not cognitive. We have women doctors, we have women holders, we have women in everywhere. So how come we believe that women are not logical? If I can write a PhD, what makes another man with a PhD think that I'm not logical?
That's a big question, Ms. Yusuf. I will come back to you, later. Thanks for that comprehensive response. So my next question goes to Dr. Inwang. How do we take Nigeria back from the hands of inept, visionless, and corrupt politicians? And it's like a double-barrel kind of question. The second part: how do we get involved as citizens? How do we get involved? We do a lot of talk, but most times when it matters, Nigerians are not known. We're very, very self-opinionated people, but sometimes we don't back it up with actions. How do we get involved? How do we change the narrative?
Okay. Yeah. Clearly, very important question. For so long, we've stayed back and played helplessness while we allow those that have found a way to continue to perpetuate themselves in power, think for us or act for us. Sometimes we think maybe this scenario or the field is not, like one of the panelists said, is not honest, is not trustworthy. So we've stayed back and allowed them to essentially build very strong roots and even perpetuate generations and preparing for more generations to continue to hold power. But I think increasingly we're becoming aware that, look, that narrative has not taken us anywhere. I mean, those that have brought us to where we are now cannot fashion a way for us, for the future for us. So how to get it back is to get involved, continue to engage, discuss amongst ourselves, and believe, even like Akin is doing now, that we can make a change. They that are controlling the system now, they didn't just find themselves where they are here today. They networked, so that's something we can do. Forming network, forming alliances, building bridges, understanding the scenario, how they've come to hold power. And that way we can begin to claw back, our destiny. Essentially, they've taken away our destiny and returned us into, what they like. And they go about pretending to be populists, but essentially they are preaching for themselves. So I think the way to take it back is to engage, okay, to be forthright, to put ourselves out there and be ready to serve. It will not be easy, and they will mock at you. Initially, they will discountenance. Also, look what the guys doing. You guys don't know how we play politics. You know, when the chips are down, we'll do this, we'll do that. But we, as people that have come, you know, enlightened and have seen how things work and are better positioned, we can begin to counteract that narrative by forming our own different thinking. We cannot win, we cannot beat them by doing the same things they are doing. So we need to channel out a way, a different path to overcome them. Now, that's the way to do it never ends, but obviously discussion must continue. And the second part of the question, just how do we get involved? There's no other way. There's no other way. I mean, staying back, we can't make any headway. We had thought in the past that it was too big, it was too cumbersome, it was too dirty. I mean, you don't want to go soil yourself. How are you going to mobilize stocks to rig elections and all of that? But we're coming to understand now that with reaching out to the people, getting involved, reaching out to them with a new message, with a new paradigm, a way of doing things, building up a grassroots, you know, from bottom up. You know, people now begin to see, okay, that money that they were getting before on election day has not helped them any way. So now if you're coming to say, okay, look, we're not just going to tell you what to do. We're going to ask you what you want us to do for you, and we begin to build you from that. So everybody gets involved in the policy formulation, in the policy implementation. That way they own the process. And that way you build your own grassroots, and you can begin to, you know, advocate for real change. I believe all of this is possible, and that's why, you know, I like occasions like this. We have to clean up our electoral system. We have to clean up the way our people see elections and see politicking, and continue at every opportunity to continue to push that enlightenment. I think that's the only way. What we've done in the past has not helped us. I think we have to move forward along those lines.
Thank you very much, Dr. Inwang. Because of time, what I intend to do now is I will go again just for the last time. One question on each for the panel, and then we wrap it up and then move to Dr. Olusa. So my next question goes to Mrs. Akinbiyi. How do we encourage active participation of Nigerians in diaspora in Nigerian politics? Like one of our friend here, Dr. Olusa, wants to go back to Nigeria to contest as a governor in about 8 months from now. How do we, as Nigerians in diaspora, how do we encourage active participation of our people like him that are showing interest?
Thank you very much. I think the first step is what we're doing now, to show up and show our physical support rather than just talking about it. That's the first thing. Because most of the things that I've noticed, especially even in the African community, is you get all the support behind doors, closed doors, and when it's time to put it into action, people are missing. So I think that's one of the first steps. The second thing that I'll probably deviate a little bit with the lack of encouragement of Africans in diaspora to participate in politics is you actually have to find, like what I said earlier on with my first question, is the vision and the mission. When people left Nigeria, what was the reason of leaving Nigeria? That was one of the things that is actually hindering us for people in diaspora to actually participate in politics. The first things, which is the mission, is you left Nigeria for a better life. Many people left Nigeria for a comfortable life, for a better life. They did not leave Nigeria so that they can go back and make it great. And that is just the fundamental truth. And the other thing is, when is enough? You come here, you try to thrive, you try to go against all odds that is here, and then you achieve what you want to achieve. What is enough with the achievement? So I think the first instance when I will still go back to few countries, because when I travel a lot, I'll actually have a look at few countries. In 1971, Dubai only had 40 graduates, no university. Sometimes when people compare Nigeria with America, London, I think you actually move far away from the yardstick. I always start with something like Dubai. Dubai is going to be celebrating their Golden Jubilee next year, 2021. They have a different vision. And I was just recently in Singapore and Malaysia about 3 weeks ago. And what is their main exports in Singapore? Water. Malaysia, palm oil. We've got so many things more than this. So going back is, when we left Nigeria, I'll talk about myself, and most people I know that, they left because of a reason. The reason wasn't like going back to participate. What Dr. Lusa is doing now is a great thing. May we just give him a round of applause, please? Just appreciate him. Because it takes courage to do that. It takes courage. A leader said one day, like the ruler of Dubai said, you don't need a successful person to rule a country. You need people with values to rule a country. You need people with values to take you to the destination of where you're going. And I believe, and I know, because I know my brother for a long time, he's a person of high values. And I kind of hold him down in high regards. So going back, sometimes I look at Yatik, I look at a country, what makes a country? They said education. And I'm actually happy that it's probably one of his mandates that he's going to be improving on. Education, empowerment, and making the life of the people better. So when we come here, a long time ago, people like our four leaders, Awolowo and Co, they have the opportunity to go abroad. What they were doing then was to improve Nigeria. They were going there to learn and go back home. People are coming here to improve their own life, not with the intention of going back home. That is why it's very difficult. That's why we are having difficulty in diaspora participating in this kind of a thing. Because their main objective and the main vision wasn't really to come here and go back, if that answered the first question. And then going back again, I just wanted to put this in our mind when we're thinking about Nigeria. Sometimes we're thinking about solving present problems with old medication. We're still stuck in Awolowo, Akinloye, all those kind of things. We need to move forward. It's time to move forward. We'll move forward with real and recent perspective. So I just look at some few research and some few facts, which I mentioned earlier on. I think in 1971, Dubai has 40 graduates, no university. They have just 7 hospitals. So when we're looking at the yardstick of how much a country is moving, and according to the leader, the ruler of Dubai, they only focus on 3 things then. Those 40 graduates were sent abroad so that they can learn and come back home to make the country better. 40 people changed Dubai to what it is now in 50 years. So we're now stuck in a place that we have education. What kind of education are we giving our people in Nigeria? That is the main problem that I think Nigeria is facing. What kind of education are we passing on to people? Are you saying, okay, like my fellow sister said earlier on, we are being born into a competitive environment. If I have a brother and my brother's daughter goes to the same school like me, if my brother's daughter comes home and said, I'm the first, and my daughter is the second, the first thing you heard from people is, does he have 2 heads? Why is he the first and not me? Competitive spirit. It's not as if it's not good. It's good for level to maintain. But at the same time, when Dr. Lisa said, I'm going, the first thing people will say, who is he? What is he going to do? But we have to believe in each other. We have to raise each other up. If we don't raise each other up, we're not going to move anywhere. You're just going to step. Let me tell you something about when you step up in life. When you want to step up in life and you're stepping on a fellow human being like you can't move anywhere. You cannot move more than that boundary. But when you step up, you need to move up the ladder. You need to encourage people, keep moving up so that they can get there. So when they get there, it's now another story for them to look down and say, who's there to pull up? You don't get there and stand there alone. So I think the first thing that we have to do is to encourage people, encourage our governments, like even our brother when they get there, encourage people so that when you get to that position, you're able to send people out to go and learn and bring things back home.
Thank you very much. You know, brilliant perspective, especially about Dubai. I'm sure many of us would remember that. Moving forward, Mr. Abbas, you are a community development practitioner. Sometime last year, there was a popular, slogan and songs
lazy Nigerian youths, that was everywhere. What are your thoughts? Is Nigeria failing its youthful population? And the second part of it, how can Nigeria invest in its youths? Two-barrel question again: is Nigeria failing its youth? How can we, invest more in the future of Nigerian youth?
Thank you again for that question. Like I always say, I did a critique. I think I sort of did a scrutiny when I saw that, when I got that question. And what came to mind, can we argue that, yes, the youths, the government actually failed the youths? I look at that side and I'll argue for, and I'll look at the other side, like I always do, I'll leave everybody to go home and judge or make your decisions. But I will tilt to one side. Again, it's going to go from here and here. Look, the facts are there. I work in the youth services sector, and I'll do a comparison here. I'm part of the policy making process that we had for the current youth services policy and strategy plan, and we did something that I'm going to talk about here. That was going back to the grassroots. And like my doctor said now, just a while ago, a development paradigm has changed. We still believe miracle will fall from our sorrow. My brothers and sisters, it's not going to happen. Nothing is coming from our sorrow. It starts from our home. So the issue of lazy use of that is okay to say from the president of Nigeria that, yeah. And I can still, I'll keep talking about that. Our youths don't even have time when they're called. I was part of that, to even be part of policy making. They don't have the time. I'm telling you this. It's not that you can go to all the local governments, they have these processes in place. But I don't think a young person from Nigeria background want to sit down and talk about policy. So what am I saying? I'm saying I'm looking at the sort, I'm looking at the negative. I'm counter, I want to counter that notion that says Nigerian youths are lazy. So I want to say, to an extent, I'm trying to tell you why people can label them as lazy. When you talk about how to get 50 cars from America and sell it next day, you're going to see 50 young people. Why? Because the country is bad. That's what we're going to say. Another thing would be, there are permanent projects going on in Lagos State. My sister was going back to America, and 4 young people were stopped. They were apprehended at the airport. They were empowered. They were paid $500,000 each. These guys were bolting away to the States to make money. Like Daddy Okpe has been doing it. I don't think I've got the golden fish. I'm still chasing it now. They had the dream to go overseas and make money. I think my sister, got to know one of them. When I say money, like you already said, good life. What is good life? Me, I know. Good life is money. I said we want to do so ourselves. So I think that thing, we have to look at that. I'll mention someone that is close to me. He finished secondary school. We sorted him out. Uni, he did not want to go. So that is to actually attest to the fact that, to an extent, Nigerian youths are wanting to get money, sit down. Another thing I would say, I have a lot of Nigerians that are here. I don't want to mention names. I work so hard for my money. They came here with opportunities, comforting them everywhere. They are doing crime. We all know this. It's happening in America. So it's a testament that Nigerian youth, that is, if you look at it from that point of view, that's what I said, when I finish here, you go home and decide. On the other side, let's talk about, they're not lazy youths. They're not lazy youth for me, and I'll come up with 1 or 2 points. I know what we do here. The first thing that we to, finalize from the youth services sector to call young people together. And when we call them together, people will come back and say they're not hungry. We called them, and young people responded very well. So we had a consultation. They were part of decision making. I mean, I can go to that maybe towards the end and say solution. They were part of decision making. We were just like giving them the free stand and say, hey, what do you want? Well, it could be flawed in a way people can say it has the agenda of government, but they were actually asked to actually decide for themselves. They responded very well. Another thing, enabling environment is there. So how you call me a lazy person when I cannot even catch a bus to where I want to walk? I have to sit in the bus. My cousin was going to Ikorodu. Traffic was so big, he slept in the vehicle and went to work from there. So that person would think about maybe let me go join Yahoo Boys. So another yeah, it's true. Another case in point is let's look at the population of Australia when I arrived to Australia in 1999. I think about 17 million. But whilst the population was growing, there were amenities to match. It's not happening in Nigeria. So when you don't have this sort of enabling environment, you might be tempted to say nothing is working. Let me kukuma join the bandwagon. And with time, I think I don't think it's changing up till now. So when you have 50 jobs being chased by 1 million youth, so apparently you have lazy youths. That's not, nobody can change that.
Thank you very much.
I think for me, I would say Nigerian youths, for anybody to tag them lazy, I can say you don't have the right. But when you look at those points that are there to negate that you say, I don't think Nigerian youths are lazy. However, just go back to what I just highlighted. So that's not so good.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abbas. Mr. Abbas has provided the two sides of the same coin, and we can ponder on it and really decide: are they really lazy Nigerian youths, or the opportunities are not there? Something for us to think about. Moving on very, very fast. I'll move on to Mrs. Yusuf again. Be it a good or bad government, it is believed in some quarters that every country has the government it deserves. Do we get the governments we deserve in Nigeria all these years?
That is actually a very big question when I looked at it. And it was difficult for me to conclude. But I'll give an example. I was watching the Matildas 3 nights ago. They were playing China. When did China come to the football stage? Very, very recently. And there was a documentary on the TV some time ago. China having a sports academy where because they are men football club, we don't see them in any world stage. So they have that they are developing young children. They identify, they develop them, so that, and I said to a friend that in another 10 years, China will be taking the World Cup. Because when we want something to work, we have to understand why it's not working. In my experience as a practitioner, if doctor says to me, I don't have a problem, or if anyone goes to the doctor and says, I'm here, but I don't have a problem, then the question will be, why have you come to see me? So, saying that the government that we get, we deserve it, I'll say yes, because there's no patriotism, and that's what the two speakers have just talked about. There is no sense of patriotism. When I was growing up, people will go to England to study. They'll come back to Nigeria to work. People will go overseas for holidays. They will come back to Nigeria. When, at that time, Nigeria was better than Australia. No one even wanted to come to Australia. Why? Because Nigeria was good. Because we had patriotism. Because people were proud to be called Nigerians. But these days, money rules Nigeria. If I'm running a position, and I have all my manifesto, and I have all these good ideas, no one wants to look at it. It's rubbish. If my brother comes and gives everybody money, he doesn't need a manifesto. They'll vote for him. Where do they want him to recover the money from? Don't we get the government that we deserve? We do. Because money has ruled us. We've preferenced money over our conscience, over patriotism. So there is no rule of law. The military government, you know, those days when the military government takes over, hallelujah, that they are the savior. The question to ourselves is, what is the meaning of democracy in Nigeria? What does it actually mean? In China, they don't practice democracy. But now they have schools where they are teaching democracy. Do we have anything like that in Nigeria? We have to understand why our government is failing. We have to understand why we are getting what we deserve, because we created those monsters. And we have to know how to deal with them. We have to know how to live with them. And if I say no, there is a lot of ignorance. People are not educated about the affairs of their country. If you ask anytime we gather, an average Nigerian, we talk about politics. Most of the time, I don't, because most of the time, what the people are talking about, this is my perspective, they're all rubbish. Like Buka talk. None of us have taken time to really, really understand what democracy is all about. That is why people are ignorant what democracy is. And that is why it's difficult to practice democracy. So in looking at it from that perspective, I'll say no, we are not getting what we deserve because we don't understand. If you give me chin-chin for dinner, and I think it's the right dinner for me to have, I'll eat it. But if someone says to me, no, you can't have chin-chin for dinner, it's not this, that, if you bring it, I'll say to you, no, I don't want it. I want this, that. So we need education as to what democracy is all about. Coupled with patriotism, we need to be able to stand up and say, I am a proud Nigerian. And like my sister said, how many of us want to go back to Nigeria? What is good life? You go to Nigeria, you can't breathe clean air. Is that good life? Even with your money. You have the bars around your house, like in prison. Is that a good life? I don't even shut my door at night. I forget all the time because I'm always tired. Is that a good life? We once had good life in Nigeria. Can we go back there? And diaspora. I've spoken to my brother about this, and I think I've spoken to Mr. Olaitan, to people that I have opportunity to speak to. Nigeria in diaspora, in my opinion, the only way we can make a true difference in the democracy of Nigeria is when we start to vote. If we are not able to vote, we will just be sitting here and we'll just be like clanging cymbals, and it wouldn't make any difference. Dr. Olusa can go to Nigeria and put up his hands. People will expect him to pay them money. If he doesn't have money, he will need a lot of conviction. But if we can vote from here, like many other countries, ordinary Botswana, they can vote from here. Ordinary Rwanda, they can vote from here. My sister is talking about Dubai. Dubai is still a big country. Let's talk about Rwanda. They had genocide. How many years ago? They are better than Nigeria in policy, in the construction, everything, in governance. Do we go there to learn? But we are absorbed in our own pride. Every Nigerian, we want to be noticed. We want to be better past my neighbor. And that's why nothing is working. And that is why I would say we get what we deserve.
Thank you very, very much, Mrs. Moving on to Dr. Inwang, that will be the last question. Just a general question. In your opinions, what are the qualities that you look for in a good leader? And how do, seriously speaking, how do Nigerian leaders, how do we really measure up in terms of those qualities of a good leader? What makes good leader like we look up to in the kind of society that we live?
Okay. Yeah, like you said, it's quite a general question, but as one of the panelists has said, look, I think it's first and foremost the value that person has. Leadership is not something you learn or you go to school for. You're born a leader. You should have that value. You should have that desire to effect change. Wherever you find yourself, you must have that value to believe in people and to take them and to understand that you want to take them to a better place. Create an environment where people thrive. So as a leader, you want to do things that would help others thrive. You don't want to be a ruler. A ruler will always be telling people what to do, but a leader, you want to encourage people, add value to their life, make them better, and the group gets better, not individual brilliance. It's also very important, to look for honesty. You want somebody you can rely on. Whenever they say something, you can bank on them that would be the case, and also being very approachable and having a listening ear. Be ready to somebody that is ready to evaluate their stance. So you can't say something and refuse. Even when people are coming back to you, you can't and review your stance. So yes. Well, if you're looking for a leader, you must look for that person that, is collaborative. He wants to listen to people, review positions. Policies are not even if you're talking about generating policies. Sometimes you don't set and forget. Most things we do or that have failed, you find out that it's set and forget. You've passed the law, so shall it be. But times have evolved, so a leader should be ready to change and be ready to learn new things. So a leader should be a learner, should be a team player, be honest and forthright, and be ready to manage resources, human and material, very effectively, to advance whatever goal the group has. So those you must look for a leader. Some of these things you never learn from school is something that you wish or you born to or you want to continue to aspire to be. So having said that, you can see clearly that amongst those that call themselves leaders in Nigeria, all these are clearly lacking. They have no compunction about the good of the populace. Like you asked a question about populist politicking. There's no populist politicking in Nigeria. They're just grandstanding, and where you see real populist politicking, as you see in the West, you're really advancing the cause of and they're looking for the general good. Yes, they might use it to win elections, but yes, they're moving people forward. Nigeria, once they come, they deceive you, and and in fact, you're less off, from where you started. So there are no, if at all, maybe a handful of people you could call leaders in Nigeria, and I must say there are a few, but I'm not sure the number is enough to make a real change. So, and that's why we must start from the grassroots, injecting such kind of ideas, continue to make the people be responsible for their actions. That way you can now ask whether they are getting the leaders they deserve or not. Because while that argument is true in certain areas that or certain countries, you must also remember there's something called a Stockholm syndrome. When you've been held captive, after a while you sing the praises of the person that is holding you captive. And we need to understand that what's happening in Nigeria is systematic. They have deliberately, systematically brainwashed people globally. Very importantly, And if we don't see it that way, we'll just see it at paper value. Why are these people going to collect money? People, the same youths that are suffering are the same ones that are ready to die to put a man in that's kept him where he is. You can't begin to understand such things. It's because of the mentality. You talk about education. It is education. Your item should be education 1, education 2, education 3. And education can be in the realms of agriculture. You have to educate them about agriculture. How to believe in themselves. Politicking, you have to educate them that, look, it is about you. Come out and be involved. You've been taking money for so many years. Now, don't take money again and see whether you make a change. So it's all about education. It's all about, picking the right leaders. That way, we now get the critical mass of good leaders and begin to make real positive change in our country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we give a big round of applause to the panel? Definitely the discussion will continue. I think that we still have a lot to discuss.